Alrighty, folks, it's been an absolutely insane year. Businesses small and large have had to adjust to the many changes brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. Industries across the globe have shut down. Many people have lost their jobs. The pandemic has taken a serious toll on the economy. With the help of our friends at Giant Partners, we're going to explore some of the data. Giant Partners is America's #1 data-driven marketing company. They took an integral role in putting together this video. So, here's the reality. Most of us identify COVID with the negatives because there have been tons of negatives, particularly in the world of business. But there are a few positives. So let's talk a little bit about the positive side of how business adapted. This is a beautiful thing about capitalism. It tends to adapt. Well, COVID obviously changed the world of the restaurant industry. Delivery apps like DoorDash and Postmates, they've gained a ton of momentum due to COVID-19. They've outgrown restaurants' own in-house delivery systems. That's created a lot of employment for people who needed jobs, particularly temporary jobs. We've also seen an expanded drive-through lines for fast food with multiple lanes, a lot of people taking orders. You've seen a rise in contactless payments and QR code menus, which is really convenient, and it's great technology. You've seen online ordering via website and apps boosting demand for companies like DoorDash. There are 832,000 jobs in the industry nationally, and about 4,800 new businesses were added in 2020. Now, we'll get to the downsides in just one second in the restaurant industry. Meanwhile, the travel industry is known for having restrictive policies in terms of cancellations and trip changes. Experts think this is over, which actually is great. How many times have you bought a flight, and then for some odd reason you have to cancel? And then it's like, well, we're just going to charge you for the flight anyway. No more of that. Telehealth and telemedicine has grown tremendously. We've taken advantage of this. My wife is serving patients via telehealth and telemedicine. And by the way, doctors have been waiting for this for a long time. It took state licensing agencies to actually let this go because of the pandemic, and now they do. And that's great, because now patients can get diagnoses or prescriptions over a Zoom call or phone call. That's not going to change moving forward because that's great service. It's a lot better than going and waiting in a waiting room for an hour before meeting with a doctor for 5 minutes. Mental health services are now available online through Zoom sessions with therapists, which is fantastic. Hospital preparedness is more important than ever. Hospitals are going to continue to stockpile PPE, that's personal protective equipment, and emergency equipment, and other products that patients need. Gun sales skyrocketed in 2020 compared to 2019. According to Statista, by August of 2020, firearm sales grew by 57.8% compared to the previous year. Around 1.8 million handguns were sold in the United States. You could see a rise in the home office industry. I think there are a lot of people who have been working from home who are just going to continue working from home. Do companies really want to spend literally millions of dollars on overhead when everybody can do the same job from their house? You could see a rise in the number of jobs that are capable of being done via the internet. That's going to require a new set of skills that people can train for. And that's going to require a difference in how we educate kids in high school and college particularly. Obviously, that also means that when it comes to commercial real estate, you could see commercial real estate take a hit for quite a while. It's one thing to open a retail store for clothing when people go back to the malls. It is quite another thing to lease tens of thousands of feet of office space when you have an industry that can basically be delegated to people working at home. Now, before we continue, I want to talk to you about Giant Partners. They're not only a one-stop shop for all your advertising needs, as I've said before, they helped us gather a lot of the data and stats for this video. Every company strives to have unique values and a long-lasting impact. It's time to position your company as an industry leader, create buzz, attract new customers, generate consistent revenue. Giant Partners is here to help you do this. And when we built Daily Wire, we focused an awful lot on marketing and data. That's what we needed, marketing and data. If you want your business to be successful, it's got to be data-driven. Luck is not a business plan, as I very often say. Well, this is where Giant Partners comes in. Giant Partners is America's #1 data-driven marketing agency. Giant Partners operates in the business-to-business space, offering a variety of business marketing solutions like database marketing, brand development, web design, SEO, lead generation, digital marketing services, as well as ad placement. That's just to name a few of their services. Whether you own a small family business or handle millions in revenue every year, Giant Partners can help you get to the next level. Their marketing strategies are research-driven. They are equipped with 20 years of data experience. Don't take my word for it. Their largest customers include BMW Nationwide, Ohio State University, 3M, and Ethan Allen. So, head on over to giantpartners.com to get your business set up today. Alrighty, now we get to the negatives. There are lots and lots of negatives. Lockdowns in 2020 decreased new business creation an estimated 82%. This is in stark contrast to what you will hear from media outlets that try to rose and butterfly 2020. In 2019, in a thriving economy, there were 933,821 new businesses created with sales. This accounted for 1.66 million new jobs. In 2020, with the government locking everybody down, there were only 171,423 new businesses created with sales. This accounted for only 315,327 new jobs. This reduction obviously leads to a massive loss in job creation. Lockdowns in 2020 decreased new job creation by an estimated 1.3 million jobs. That stat is on top of the 9.5 million jobs that have been reportedly lost since February 2020. The opportunity cost of the lockdowns can be simply stated. An estimated 762,398 companies with 1,345,607 new jobs that should have been created in 2020 never happened. Let's dive into some of these companies that have been hammered by the pandemic. Lots of different aspects of the entertainment industry have been affected in tremendous ways, like obviously movie theaters, closed, concerts, shut down, athletic games, shut down. Consumers have had to turn to other mediums to consume both visual and audio content. Theme parks have had to adjust their entertainment experience to fit the safety and sanitation guidelines of the CDC. And Florida's great, so Disney World here has been open. In California, you couldn't even open up Disneyland. When it comes to restaurants, bars, and clubs, you can see the utter devastating effect of this pandemic, and particularly the shutdown orders on this entire industry. The labor force stats from the current population survey show within the food, services, and drinking places industry, the unemployment rate increased from 6.2% in January of 2020 before the pandemic to 14.4% in January of 2021. Gyms have been just devastated. To date, more than $15 billion in revenue has been lost in gyms and personal care. According to a Club Intel study, U.S. fitness centers still in business projected a 37% decline in revenue in 2020 relative to 2019. How about entertainment? Well, within the arts, entertainment, and recreation industry, the unemployment rate increased, this is unbelievable, from 4.7% in January 2020 to 19.1% in January 2021. That's why you see the stock of AMC take this massive, massive hit. According to Statista, the film industry worldwide experienced a $7 billion loss in revenue as of mid-March 2020 and a $10 billion loss in revenue as of the end of May 2020. Travel and hospitality has been absolutely shellacked. Within the accommodations industry, the unemployment rate increased from just 6.4% in January 2020 to 23.1% in January 2021. According to the U.S. Travel Association, travel spending totaled about $679 billion in 2020. That is a 42% annual decline. That's $500 billion decline from 2019. Since the beginning of March through the end of 2020, the pandemic had resulted in $492 billion in cumulative losses for the U.S. travel economy. That equates to a daily loss of $1.6 billion every day for the past 10 months. How about in the car industry? Well, within the transportation and warehouse industry, the unemployment rate jumped from 3.4% in January 2020 to 9% in January 2021. The estimated reduction in auto demand following the COVID pandemic as of October 2020, Western Europe experienced a reduction of 3.84 million in terms of its vehicle demand. North America experienced a reduction of 2.52 million cars in terms of vehicle demand. These industries are going to be devastated probably forever. There are adjustments that have had to take place, particularly in the travel industry. It's going to be a while before travel recovers. You're going to have to see airlines bailed out. When it comes to the car industry, you might have to see car manufacturers looking for bailouts from governments. In terms of entertainment, are the theaters ever going to come back? I mean, that is a serious question. A lot of people have moved to streaming services, and they may never go back to theaters ever again. Not just because they're afraid, but they've gotten used to watching streaming entertainment from their couches. And is that going to have an impact on how these particular movies get funded? Movies and TV shows. Are we done with the day of $300 million movies? In the end, however, I think that some of these changes that we have seen are going to end up being rather temporary. We're going to boom after this. People have been pent up for a year. People cannot wait to go out, go to ball games, go to theaters, get back to regular life. I think people are going to travel more than they ever have in the aftermath of COVID-19. As countries begin to open their borders again, there's going to be a lot of international travel. You've already seen travel uptick in the United States in pretty tremendous ways. If another pandemic were to happen again today, I think that governments would be very keen on shutdowns early, which, when it comes to travel, is probably not a bad idea. Certainly, there's going to be a lot of support for backing preparedness. I don't think we're ever going to have a PPE shortage again. And I think there's going to be a lot of focus on social distancing, on mask wearing, but maybe not on lockdowns, because the reality is that those lockdowns were not tremendously helpful in places like New York. They weren't helpful in places like California. I think that we could learn the wrong lessons from this pandemic. I'm hopeful that we will learn the right lessons from this pandemic, which is that we have to take into account all of the factors when we make public policy. And if we are going to shut things down, you have to do it right away. And then you have to get out of lockdown as soon as humanly possible afterward. We also got used to the lockdown. And that's a real problem in terms of our liberty. Getting used to the government telling you to stay in your house and then stay there even past the point of riskiness, which is what is currently happening. You know, have members of the government telling you can't go back to regular life, even if you're vaccinated. Don't let your mentality change. If your mentality changes, then they have robbed you of your freedom even after the pandemic. So go back to normal. Let's all get back to normal. These industries need you to get back to normal. And I think we are going to get back to normal. I think that you're going to see demand. I think that you're going to see a tremendous amount of innovation. And I think that maybe some of the improvements that came along will stick. Hopefully, a lot of the losses that these industries experienced will go away as we move forward from this terrible pandemic.